Welcome to the Garden Years. This episode is entitled Tending Without Controlling. You can't make things grow. You can only make room for growing. The hardest thing about a garden is learning what isn't your job. I used to think tending meant management, watching closely, stepping in quickly, making sure everything went the way it was supposed to. And then the garden taught me something I wasn't expecting. My job is not to make things happen. My job is to show up, do what I can, and then trust what I cannot do. That's not giving up, that's wisdom. Looking back at some stages in my life, I remember being tired a lot. And maybe I've mentioned this before, but rest didn't always help. What I discovered was that I was tending to too many things. And within that tending, I was unknowingly controlling. At times, I feel a little sadness about that. But the good thing is that with that sadness, my eyes were open to what I was doing. I see it clearly now. The moment I stepped in controlling because I've learned to pause. And my friends, that pause has been everything. And here's what I've learned. A gardener who controls instead of tends will wear herself out. You can't make things grow. You can only make room for growing. Tending says, I'll show up. I'll do my part. I'll create the conditions for growth. Controlling says, I'll decide the outcome. I'll manage the process. I'll make sure it goes the way I've decided it should go. They only They can look identical from the outside, but they feel very different on the inside. Tending feels like partnership. Controlling feels like exhaustion. And I was exhausted for years before I understood why. The people in my life, the relationships, the situations I poured myself into, they were not gardens that needed management. They were living things that needed room. And every time I moved in to fix, to redirect, to quietly steer, I was taking up space that wasn't mine to occupy. I meant well, I really did. I almost always meant well. But meaning well is not the same as doing the right thing. The sadness I feel when I look back is real. I don't dismiss it, but I've stopped letting it become shame. Because shame keeps you stuck in what you did. And I'm more interested in who I am becoming. Now, when I feel that pull, that familiar urge to step in, to manage, to make sure, now I pause. And in that pause, I ask myself, is this mine to tend, or am I trying to control? Sometimes the most loving thing a gardener can do is put down the tools and walk away from the bed for a season. Trust that what's been planted is enough. Trust the soil. Trust the sun. Trust the rain. Trust that growth is happening even when you cannot see it. You can't make things grow. You can only make room for growing. You got it, gardeners. Tend your garden, just yours. I'll see you next week. Bye.